Then I come so close to these painting, and I found they have yellow background, the little fuzz in there. So that means these artists, they painted on uh, color canvas, prime canvas, not on white canvas. So when I get back to the United States, I did the same thing. So I bought big sheet of masonite, and I took it to the beach, Ocean Street, and I even paint primer sealers, yellows, colors, and then I drop some sand. I say I'm gonna have texture, But you can buy fine sand at the hardware stores instead of the beach sand that's still thick. Ate all my brushes, and people think I'm crazy. They say, "What's this man doing?" So after I painted the whole sheet of the masonite, I tip it upside down. I threw some sand in there, then I brush it off. Yeah, it didn't work out well, but I destroy a lot. I learned from my mistake. Then I find out you can buy at the hardware store, you can buy sand. Yeah. So I did.
See if you can talk.
Hi. Could you hear this here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's fine.
Good.
That's fine. Okay. Okay. Well, I have to wait, So I'll tell you another story. So we didn't do the real thing at 4 o'clock when everybody show up, then I
No,
start.
we advertised for 3.
Oh, 3.
Three.
Oh, this is 3 o'clock now? Oh. What happened to Cindy? Cindy, she gone? Oh, I want to thank the libraries for inviting me here, especially Cindy Cotton. She has really the power to bring people together, and for her leadership in this community, she did so well. I'm really impressed. So she is a quiet little lady. She's amazing. She's really qualified to run for governor of Massachusetts, but we don't want to lose her. She's amazing. I want to thank also all her staff, the people who work for her. They're all doing a great job, and she did so good for the community and for the whole Cape Cod. This is too good to be true. And I want to thank her assistant, Lisa. She's doing a great job too. This is Lisa. This is amazing too. So thank you for coming here, to all my artist friends and all my collectors. I appreciate you all coming. I have so many stories to tell about myself. Everything's happened to me is from God. I didn't ask for any of it, my success, but God make it happen. And here I am. I'm here speaking to you. I was nobody. I was an artist. I didn't know where I'm from, and I didn't know what to do. I broke up with my family. We are from a family of bakers and grocer. This is what my family, and I don't want to be in the grocery business because I make so many mistakes, because I'm terrible in math. Always they yell at me because I screw up at the cash register. Well, I'm not good at it, so I left. And I went to Manhattan from Brooklyn. And in Manhattan, I was like, for 2 weeks, it was really bad, but I was sleeping at the train station, the bus station, and always people leave some sandwich next to me, ham sandwich. I don't eat ham. This is terrible. I throw it out, and even I'm starving. Yeah, this is really awful things. And but I was lucky. So I'm blessed really by the Lord. Why I'm blessed? Okay, think about this. I study under the best teacher in the country, which is Henry Henshey from Provincetown. And I didn't know he is the best artist in the United States, but he is. He taught me how to use color, all my colors. Yeah. And so uh, this is my luck. It's a study with Henry Henshey. But then before Henry Henshey, I went to Art Student League. I didn't know this is the best art school, but I went and I introduced myself. I was a little guy. I was about the same size because I become fatter, but then I lost too much weight for the last couple of years. Now, this is what I was before, except I had a lot of hair. And now I was more handsome, I guess. Anyway, so I went to Rosina. Rosina, she is the director of the Art Student League. And I walked in and I told her, I am Sam Barber. I'm son of immigrant. And I said, look, I'm an artist and this is my work. And I show her so many portfolio. I have a lot of sketching, fine drawings and figure drawing, a copy from photograph. And she liked it. They gave me scholarship right there. And I told her I'm poor, I'm alone, I have no place to live, So she liked me very much. We become friends. I painted her cat, Rosina Ferretti, her last name. She passed on now. And so I studied with William F. Draper. This is my other success. I didn't ask for this, but God gave it to me. William F. Draper, he was the greatest portrait of all time. Yeah. And he passed on about 28 years ago or so. And he does all the famous portrait, especially he was good friend with President Kennedy. And he went to the White House and he was the only one to paint the president on the rocket chair. He sat in the rocket chair and rock all the time. Yeah. And he was his friend in Harvard. They went to school together and they played soccer together. This is why their friendship. And the Draper family, they have a home in Hyannisport. So this has come later in Hyannisport. So this is my other success. So William Draper, he sent me to Henry Henshey, his teacher, to study under him. So that's two price of one. This is amazing success. And I didn't ask for this, but God gave it to me. And when I went to school, it was difficult the first year, the second year, but then I get used to the color. There's certain color not to use and to use. And so I learned not to use a black pigment, the black paint. This has oxide color, will eat the other colors. Yeah. So why do I find this? Because I always go to Boston and I take the bus when I go to Boston. I go shopping and I go to Boston Museum and I see my favorite painting of John Singer Sargent, the lady with the pink dress. You remember that one? The taffeta, beautiful dress. And every time I go and see that painting, I start to get the grayer and grayer and grayer of the face. Why? Because John Singer Sargent, he used 6, 7 color in his palette. Some of them is black and umber and sienna and pinks and yellow and red and orange, some of those, the primary colors. And so if you go now to Boston and see that painting, the painting looks very gray. It looks like somebody at the morgue. Like when you take the blood away from the face. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's very grayishy face in there. But some people paint like this. And there's somebody on the Cape, he's an artist. He used black in his painting, and he's very good artist too. And his name, Robert Rourke Gallery in Dennis. And every time I see him, he was my fellow students. He was students with William Draper. We studied around the same time. And every time he see me, he trying to aggravate me. I say, I still use black and I love it. Yeah. And so I'm gonna start working on the painting. Please, Julie, come and sit. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna start doing watercolor, this painting. I have one thought of this watercolor is teach you discipline. Why discipline? Well, teach you when to stop. You know, there's a certain color you can't go beyond, and what to use, what the next steps, what the next steps, what the next steps, what the next steps. So I figure, I told Julie, this is from, I read the Bible every night, you know. I finished the Bible once, and I'm about to finish the 3/4 the second time. So watercolor is like a ladder with 100 feet long. Yeah, and there's 100 steps. So the first steps, which will be the lighter, right from the top. Why is the lighter? Because it's closer to the sun. Yes. So this is what watercolor, how sensitive it is. Watercolor is step 1 to the brightest, because the closer to the sun. Step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. So it gets narrower down, greater until the middle. Then the dark, it comes as you come down. Then you work on your watercolor with the dark come after. So I'm going to start this, and then I will tell stories, some other stories. So this is the way I start. I'm trying to get proportion. This is my model. Her name Jamie, and she's supposed to be here tonight, but I haven't heard from her for a couple of weeks, and I hope she's okay, you know. And
she's a wonderful student.
She is a wonderful artist, and she's on the Instagram. And so I'm gonna, I photograph her at the Potter House. You know, it's just, if you go into exit 5 from Osterville, you go by this house with a lot of flowers, and the man does pottery, Ron the Potter.
Yeah.
So the Potter House is right there. You can see all the flower. So I'm going to do the vertical one. This way I can get more of those flowers. And I'm going to capture the daisies, you know, from different photos. Yeah. Like this one here. Yeah. 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 Okay. So
Maybe I should just share with you a little bit about how I came to know Sam. About 2 years ago, a mutual friend of ours said, you know, Sam would really like to capture some of his stories in writing. He's told these stories many, many times, but he'd like to capture them in writing. So a friend of mine, Miriam Cronish, who some of you may know, and I started meeting with Sam once a week, and for a couple of hours a week, and he would tell his stories.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate to have his wife Janie with us most of the time, because Miriam and I would look at each other sometimes and say, these stories couldn't possibly be true. But Janie, being the sober sort that she is, confirmed that they were. So we know that Sam wasn't telling these tall tales. Sam often talks of, well, his mantra is, I was born at the right place at the right time. I had the best art teachers. I married the best woman. I've had a great life. And I think that probably captures Sam very, very well. I've come to know Sam through his art. I'm also a student of Sam's, and I find that so much of Sam, his exuberance, his love of life, his love of color, all of that ends up on the canvas. his personality is expressed so fully in his work. Some of you have many of Sam's paintings, and I think you'll see that theme throughout. What I find, what are you looking for, Sam? Can I help?
Look at a piece of charcoal I
Oh,
found.
okay. And he works with very
Now, boy,
special
the big
charcoal.
charcoal is gone. I don't know.
Sam, talk about this charcoal, because I thought that's fascinating.
Yeah, this is just suggestions, but I'm gonna put in there for the composition. The way I do is, I don't do any outline. I just bring the proportion together. That's it. And so I'm gonna just do rendering, and then we're gonna play with color. I'm gonna start with the big brush. Yeah. I hope Jamie will show up soon, maybe.
I know
Maybe she thinks 4 o'clock.
that. Sam, when you go into his studio, you can't believe some of the things that he has. And he has a whole bunch of this charcoal, which is imported, I think, from France.
Yeah.
The company is probably no longer in existence. I think he bought them all out and then they went, bankrupt. But he works with this very special charcoal, very thin, almost reed-like charcoal. But what I find fascinating about, and for some of you who are artists, you're probably not going to find this so astounding. I have, as a very beginning art student, he loves to work from photos. He loves to work from photographs, and he must have thousands in his studio.
I do.
And I think Minuteman Press is his favorite place here on the Cape. Anyway, he has all these great photos, and from those photos, he begins to think about what he wants to capture on canvas. So what he does, and I find so amazing, there's nothing more frightening than to look at a white canvas
That's all I'm
initially.
gonna do. Time is really important. So I'm gonna play with color now.
So do you see what he's doing? He's drawing just the essence of just an outline of what he wants to capture on that very white board.
Okay, my paint is really simple. It's from a tube of color. And this is a cheap color, I bought it from Job Lot. $4.95, but you can buy Winsor Newton. You can buy each color is like $10, $12. If you're rich, you got a lot of money. But at the same time, these are good color. And it's not how you see it, it's how you mix it, put it together. So these, my palette, there's no black, no umber, and no sap green. I don't use these 3 colors because it has black. What about the sap green? The sap green is good for olives. I love olives. I eat it every night. But when you paint it, has a grayishy tone to it. This has a black, has chemical. So this is my palette. Yeah, and this is icebox. You can put it in
tray.
a little tray. It'll dry. Will dry in 3 days after you put it in. With this, you can do 1,000 painting, but then you have to keep adding to it, all the time. And then you have to wet it. So this is what my deal, this is when I wet it. So I have.
Yeah, you've got it right here.
Yeah, it's right there. This is like Ajax, the Ajax is kitchen. Everybody has them. So my wife, she'd save everything for me. I'll tell her not to throw anything. Yeah, so I use it. So I'm gonna wet it in there, see? I'm gonna do this, you do it. So draw like this. See how nice? It's just like a dog
Can you
peeing.
see?
A couple of spots. Yeah.
Are those
Okay.
straight watercolors or those acrylics?
Watercolor.
Watercolor.
Straight
I don't like acrylic. I tell you why. Because acrylic is waste. That means every color you put on the palette, you have to use it. Otherwise, when you dry, you have to take it out of the palette, throw it away. So now they do have medium. You can mix it with acrylic too. You know, the white gel lasts a little longer. But you know what? If you can do watercolors, good watercolors, then you can do oil painting. You know, oil is just like acrylic. Yeah. And I do have a palette, you know, as a, you know, large palette, and I have all the colors in there. It's just, this is my colors. I didn't bring shadow here. Do you have one?
What is it?
My color.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I should have brought it.
you have it?
It's a very simple chart.
Yeah,
We can send it.
we can send
We
it
can
to all
send
of
it
you
to
in
you.
there.
Yeah.
Or you can come to my studio, I'll give you one.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but brushes is really important. This is Winsor Newton, and I use number 12. This is the white brush. So here I am, I'm gonna start it now. So you can play with it, see? You can move it this way, that way, yeah? And what's nice about watercolor, I love one stroke. You know, a lot of people, they do this stroke, and then they go back and forth, and so they smear it, just like you patting a dog in there. No, it's no good. I want it one stroke, like this, one. And then you can do it another way, another time, different stroke, different time. You have to wait until dry this for the second stroke, but then you have to play it everywhere, you know, for the composition. So now I'm gonna put the figure, and this is my mixer. I love my mixer. The best mixer for watercolor is that double eggs, you know, the dish. You know, I look for these in thrift shops, and then sometime I found a bunch of them. I gave them to my students in there, here and there. And so this is, I kept a turkey for me. This is my mixer. I'll mix here, see? You can play with this watercolor, you sketch it in like this, see? You don't have to do a line, just go with colors. I play with colors. Color is everything. See, one stroke, one stroke. Yeah, for now, it's fine. Yeah. Then you get a run, you have to get it back. Always you have to have paper towel, and this is the best. You know, this is Observe. I love this. Yeah, I use it a lot. So with this, you know, I just did proportion in there, but then with this, you can edge it and bring it to close. See, for instance, I can go higher here. See? Yeah. You know, I have it in my head, what she's gonna look like in there, the painting, and the composition I'm gonna be using. So I'm gonna have some poppy, but then I'm gonna have some daisy back here. So the daisy is gonna be left from the paper. Yeah, like these here, see? So what I'm gonna do is, nice and light, brushes like very light. Yeah, then you go over it with some other colors. And
Speaking of yellow, when Sam works in oils, more often than not, he will begin by painting the whole canvas in yellow. Just,
yeah,
do you do that too, Sue?
I learned it from Sam.
Did you?
yeah. See, already I get the movement here. Yeah. Mhm. This is some of the poppies. Every time I drive by the Potter house, this is amazing, amazing gardener. His wife, she was really wonderful. Just suggestion for now. Just make sure where everything is gonna be. This is here, see? Yeah. See, I'm sketching with the brush at the same time, getting proportion, and then, so proportion they had is gonna be this here, yeah. There's one in here. There's everything about colors. You know, I am not realistic. I'm an impressionist, but then I want to capture it, the impression at that moment. I'm going to capture the sunlight, light, everything. Yeah. Mhm. So now I'm going to just do a rendering. Make room. Yeah. I love brush strokes. If there's one strokes, I do it one stroke. Yeah. Yeah. So I have to tell you another story now. So I'm gonna stay with London now. I love flea markets. I go to flea market every Wednesday and every Sunday in Sandwich on 130. And I bought a lot of good stuff in there. One of my favorite one is I brought two wicker chair. These are really wicker chair. I paid $50 for the two chairs. It's amazing. And my wife, she hated, you know, she hated me to go to the flea market, spend money. But this time, she loved those chairs. I have them in my house. You can come see by yourself. You could come and visit me and see those chairs. So one of my trip to London, I was with my brother-in-law, Jeff Aikman. He is a collector of movies, yeah. And then my business manager at that time, Steve Boggess from Chatham, and he's well-known real estate broker and a very smart man. He owned a lot of property in Provincetown right now. And he owned house, the whole building in the Commonwealth Ave. Yeah. So we were in London. We went to Polaborough Road Osterville Road. This is where the full antique on Wednesday, a nice sunny day with all the art galleries. And then we had coffees, we walk around, there's so many art. So we split. My brother-in-law, he liked to see old movies, to buy old stuff. So Steve Bogus, he likes silver and some other thing. I love art. So I went by a big cart, with the wheels, 2 wheels in there, and had full of paintings. And I came and I was shocked to see cracked painting. And I looked behind the canvas, it looked old canvas. So I say, my God, this is Edward Harper. Oh my God, the painting, Cape Cod, 5 cents, that famous painting. It's about this big. And that man, it looks like the shark movie, the actor, the English actor. So with his teeth open like this in the middle, he has broken teeth. So I asked him, how much you want for this painting? He came to my face like this. He said, $180. That means 180 pounds. I say, I'll take it. I was so excited. I want to bring it to the United States. I own Edward Harper. Oh my God. So I bought the painting. I gave him the money, with the Queen pictures on it with all the curls in there. Yeah, I gave him the money. And then he put it in a newspaper and I walk away. Now it was joy, just like the Holy Spirit came to me. And I said, my God, I get Edward Harper painting. And I walk like this, bouncing, happy, like a famous original painting, my God. And then I saw the first gallery, a couple of steps down, about a block away. I walk down and I show him the painting. I said, look, I have Edward Harper. What do you think of it? So the woman, she came to my face like this, and she said, this is fake. I said, what do you mean? She said, this is not original. I said, look at the crack. You can see the crack behind the canvas and painted on canvas. Said, no, it's a fake. I said, what shall I do? She said, go back and ask for a receipt. Like this is the painting, a genuine original painting. So I went back to the man. He said, yes. I said, look, can I have a receipt? He said, no, or you can't, with this accent. And I said, well, he said, I'll give you your money back. So I took the money back and I walked away from it. I took back the Queen Elizabeth, all the monies and the curls. Yeah. And then I walked a couple of blocks. Then I was sad not to buy that painting. An hour later, 45 minutes, I came back to him and I want to buy that painting. I don't care if fake. He said, I sold it to somebody from the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the end of the painting. Yeah, the story. This is an art. So I continue. I'll tell you another story. You must continue with the brush strokes. Yeah. This. You build it.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you think using a broader, bigger brush lets you do a looser style?
I love this because you can have a thin line, you can have a wide line. It's depends the way you move it. You move around.
And when
Yeah.
it's a smaller brush, you feel very
Yeah,
constricted.
you get too picky in there. You can see a good watercolor and you walk away from it because it's average.
Yeah.
But then you have to show me color. What I like to do, there's one word in watercolor is punches. I love to see punches. Punches it's gonna come later. This is everything in punches. Yeah. And this is where I learned to do my oil with Henry Hensch's. Yeah. And so I'm gonna continue to do what I do here. Okay. One stroke. Okay. So now you can't use the same brush because you have to use another one. So I'm going to use a round one this time. This is another one. This is again, it's Winsor Newton around. I love those nylon. Nylon is wonderful. Yeah. And, you know, you have to make a lot of mistake about watercolor to get what you wanted. But then when you get the joy when you do it, it's amazing. One stroke, yeah. At the same time. One stroke. One stroke. Yeah. So I'm gonna go. The umbrella's gonna get bigger now. This is. Yeah. You're gonna get what you wanted. At the same time. Yeah. So. You know, you have to cover the white paper. You know, sometime, you know, you can take the white, just like I do primer sealers to my oil painting, my canvas. So you can do this. Yeah. See? Mhm. You have to be involved and you have to have a control. So that means you have to finish everything all at once. But then at the same time, you have to balance this side and this side. So it's enough on this side so much. So that means I have to work on this side here now. So. you have to show the girl, she's in the garden, and she's doing something, but she's related to the flowers. And everything, the color has to be beautiful. And I don't want to do an average one either. You know, and I am on the Instagram, and Instagram, you see all kind of artists, but then you have to be a human with them because their things, just like you things, you know, you have to feel for them as much as you feel for yourself. So you have to praise them too. Yeah. And even if you see mistake in there too, you can't say it because you can hurt their feelings. Yeah, it is, they're sensitive. Yeah, you know, they think they're hot shit like you are. I mean, this is on the Instagram, and I praise them, but then they praise me back. You know, they give me red dots and everything. They love it.
Sam just mentioned red dots. It reminds me of a story about, I guess it was in the 80s and I guess it was in the 80s. Sam was going to exhibit a number of his paintings at the Javits Center in New York City.
Oh.
And to do that, the admission fees were enormous, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And Sam really had to beg, borrow, and steal from family and friends and probably the bank to pull together enough money to exhibit these paintings. So and stop me if I'm telling a tall tale here, Sam, but I think it was your mother-in-law who said, "Gee, Sam, I don't think you're charging enough for your paintings." So she encouraged him. She said, "After all, it is New York City, so you can certainly charge more money." So he did, and I think it was 14 paintings that he took to the Javits Center.
Yeah.
And
One of this painting is called Pranton Spring. Yeah, and this painting, it has a still life with the windows. It's very colorful. And these people love it. So, and they have the next booth, and they art collectors. And so I find out they're there to buy art. And they're from San Anselmo, California. And they have a huge, big valley they make winemakers, you know, so they're well-off people. So they purchased the Pranton. And then a year later, I was in Paris with my wife, Janie, walking in the Avenue d'Opera. Yeah, straight on the other end is the opera. And then I saw a beautiful blonde. She's coming on the sidewalk with a bag called Pranton. You know, Pranton in Paris, the shopping. Yeah. And then she came close and she said, "Sam, is this you?" I said, "My God." Yeah. So her name Christine. And I said, "My God," I gave her a hug. I said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "We are on a wine convention, you know, in Paris." Oh, that evening, I sent them flower to the hotel and we had supper with them. Yeah, so they came from all the way from San Anselmo out of California to the east, back to Paris to meet in that one moment in 5 minutes. You know, if I wasn't there in 5 minutes, probably I would miss them, you know, just, I met them and it was fun to see them again. And they still have my painting. I don't know if they're still around, but I hope they are. She was a heavy smoker too. You know, she liked to smoke. And I quit smoking back in 84, 94, 04, 14, you know, 40 years ago or more. Yeah, this is my model. She just got here. This is Nikki Rydell. She was so beautiful. When, yeah. No, but she still have that beautiful face. Yeah, when she was in your early 20s.
No, I was a teenager.
You was 18, 17. I was permission with her mother. And she got two of my painting, her mother. You know, she is the Rydell. You know, every time I see the Rydell truck, it's her. See that?
When I was in high school, I worked, this totally was the date, I worked at Emily Lawrence clothing store.
Yeah.
Selling clothes, and once or twice during the summer, they would have fashion shows at the Paddock Restaurant.
Yeah.
Which I only did it once. I was mortified, and you'd have to, it wasn't like a catwalk, it was, you had to stop at each table and tell them what you're wearing, and died of embarrassment. And I happened to stop at Sam's table. I don't know who he was with. And he said, I'm an artist, would you like to model for me? And I was like, yeah, right after. And he gave me a card, and my father was like, who is this weirdo guy? And so we checked him out. And so I worked for him for a summer, and as he's working here, he would take photos.
Yeah.
And then would work off of the photos. But the paintings that he did of me and that he has given me over the years, I know it's me, but you guys might not necessarily know it's me because you never saw my full face.
So you have to come to the studio to see. I still have a few paintings from that time.
Yes.
And on and off, I go back and I did watercolor. I have one of her with another model too. And I have one, she's sitting in the rowboat together. You remember that rowboat? Yeah. So I have that beautiful painting. And so you have to come to my studio down the street. And here's my card.
But what was crazy, a couple of years ago, I hadn't seen him in decades, and he had a showing at the Historical Society last year or a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to be there. He obviously didn't know I was going to be there.
Yeah.
And we
I
bumped
recognize
into each other, and
Yeah.
what coincidentally, he had the painting of me standing right up in the center. So,
Keep talking, this man is fine.
no, that's my whole story. That's it. And actually, this is a elementary school classmate of mine, Laura. I just got here, so I don't know if you were introduced or not. But when I went up to Sam's studio, like 2 or 3 days ago, Laura was in there getting a painting lesson. So it's all come full circle. So that's my 2 bits.
Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome, Sam.
Okay, I have to tell you a story now of the Monet's garden. This is Bobby, you like Monet's garden. Yeah, the Monet's garden, you know, we goes every couple of years, Janie and I would love to go to Monet's garden, and we find out the best time to go to Monet's garden is D-Day. This is June 6th, you know, where the Allies, they won the wars. Yeah, and we stop over the cemetery. We saw all the soldiers in there. That it's not far away in Normandy. This is where the Monets, the Giovanni. So in Giovanni, it was a fascinating place. You know, after maybe my 3rd visit in Giovanni, I had my babies, Freddy's. he was 11 months old with a carriage. We have him with us. And we went to when he was it was packed with people and cars and buses from all over the place. And I was running all over the place and touching people, people have to make room, walking by the pond, everything. This is where the Monet's garden at its best. It has the roses, the irises, the water lilies, and the wisteria over the bridge, and the green boat they use, to take the stuff to clean the pond. This is amazing time. So, and the man, the gardener, he saw me running all over the place, taking pictures with my Nikon that time. And I took so many pictures. And he said, "Are you an artist?" I say, "Yes, sir. I take pictures and I'm going to paint, to go home." And then I told him, I say, my teacher, Bill Draper, he's a friend of the Annenberg, Ambassador Annenberg, who gave $6 million to renovation of Monet's garden. So the gardener, he's familiar with this, the Annenberg things, the foundation. He asked me, he said, "Why don't you come Monday? Monday we close the museum, but we open to Diplomat. So you can come and take pictures, be less people." I said, "Oh, great." We came the next day, Monday, and we walk all over the place. I took pictures. I met some people. I passed my card to the ambassador. I don't know who they are, but the European people, Diplomat. And then he invited me to his house around the corner, from the museum. And on the second floor, we took Freddie, we changed his diaper, in the car. And then we took him in, and we had tea with the man. And he owned a lot of painting. And he has a lot of black and white photo of his grandfather. He was the original gardener of Claude Monet. And then, so we had a great time. And then he told me that Claude Monet buried is a couple of blocks down on top of the hill in the mountain. So I went, I touched his grave, and I made a wish. And this is probably the greatest visit I've ever had in the Monet's garden. That day, I took about 200 pictures, slide. I still have them. And these are museum things in there. So when I go to heaven, these will be in the museum. It's just major things, I have a stack of Monet's photos. I did in the pond with the lily pond. I did similar. This is Monet's garden right there. Yeah. With the yellows, primrose. I love primrose. Yellow is my favorite colors. And if you ask me what's your favorite food, a vegetable, probably you're surprised. I love eggplant. My mother, she used to fry it with olive oil and eat it just flat like this with salt and pepper and sliced tomatoes. This is a feast for me. I can do it myself with George Herman grill. 10 minutes, you can have your eggplant. Yeah. Anyway.
Now, Sam says he likes yellow, but I think green, I call it Barber green.
Yeah.
He paints everything green.
I love yellow.
The shoes, desks,
Yeah.
except for sap green.
Yeah. Sap green, it looks like human waste. This is what really is the color. This is how bad it is. Yeah.
So Sam, what are you doing here? What's your next,
I'm gonna do her head now. Yeah, I'm gonna do the head of Jamie.
You know, Sam was talking about the materials that he uses. And if you go to his studio, he has hundreds of paintings there. And I was intrigued the other day. He decided he was going to be doing a portrait of somebody. So he went back into all of his closets and area, and he pulled out this old painting that he had worked on, and he really didn't like it. It was an oil painting. So he said, you know, I'm gonna sand some of this down, and I'm going to use it. I like some of the colors that I can use for background. So I think this will work. So he took this old painting, he sanded most of it down, he turned it upside down, and he started creating this portrait with this painting, this old painting. And I looked at that and I said, you know, I'm never going to be a good artist because I do not see what he sees. I mean, it was absolutely amazing what he saw in this old painting that he absolutely did not like. It was not one of his best.
You know,
So he's going to repurpose it.
I look for three things in painting. You have to have three things to succeed to make a good painting. Is you have to have color, you have to have a good color, good subject matter, and good composition. So if one out of the three missing, so you're gonna have good color and good subject matter, but the composition is way off. Like I can do this, probably the wrong place, you know what I'm saying? So you have to have the three things to make the painting zing, yeah. So this is why when you go in the art museum, you walk by certain painting, but you don't say much. But then in one painting you stop, wow, this is so good. What makes it so good? There's something to it. You have to have the subject matter, the composition, and the color, three things together, yeah? Okay. See, I didn't sketch Jamie, you know, outline. I started with color proportion. You have to get proportion. Likeness come later. You know, the last thing is the likeness. So you cannot sketch and get the likeness and then make mistake. Then you have to change the whole drawings. So this is what's easier to do it that way, to play with the color. Then the likeness will be so good as we're moving closer to it. And you will have to know when to stop. You have to know what to do in there. You have to play right there. Yeah, see? You can see the movement now. You can see it. Yeah. That's gonna be beautiful.
You know, some of us are maybe familiar with Michelangelo's Boboli statues. Are you familiar with those where it appears that people are, or figures are walking right out of the marble? They're still in,
I love
they're coming
punches,
out.
punches.
And when I watch Sam, I almost feel like, something is emerging, just like those figures that are walking out of that granite or out of that marble. All of a sudden, you begin to see what Sam is seeing in that painting. It's magical.
Okay, now I want to do a miracle story. This has happened in Provincetown. We newly married. I was 23 and she was 19 and a half. Yeah. We knew each other a year before, and we get married in St. Mary of the Harbor in Provincetown. And so we had, she become man and wife, and Henry Henshey loved Janie. Janie, she's so beautiful. She looked like between two people I like. One of them that's on the Instagram, Rumi Schneider. Did you know Rumi Schneider? She's the greatest actress, and she passed on. She's from Vienna, and she is so beautiful. I don't know who put it on Instagram, but they love my painting. And then I loved you. She is so beautiful. So my wife, she looked like her when I married her, and she looked also like Kim Novak, with Picnic. You remember the movies with William Holden? She was beautiful. Yeah. So so that time we walk in the streets of Provincetown sketching. We both artists, and then we went to a place called Webster Place. Webster Place is right at the bottom of the high school, Provincetown High School in Bradford Street. Yeah, and it was a cottage with the wisteria, just like a Monet wisteria, 100 years old wisterias with green wisterias. About this, the trunk is so big, it's like 100 years old wisterias. And she said, "Oh, I'd love to own this." It's exactly what I told her. I said, "Honey, maybe one day I'll buy it for you." This has happened. Oh my God. Henry Henshey become our friends. We almost related to my teacher through the dog. He has a male dog and we have the female. That's the brother and sister. And he used to bring his dog to my house, yeah, every morning. And he'll have tea with milk, the dog. A little cup, hot tea with a little milk in there. Yeah. And they both, they talk to each other, dog, male. We have the female, her name Tess.
Yes.
Tess, I name her after the famous movie, Tess of Duverville.
Yes.
You remember the movie? And he named him Wags. Wags his tail. He had a long tail, a beautiful tail. Tess was mixed between Wheaton Terrier and golden and the English dog with the long ear, like George Bush dog. What's the name of that? It's a small little dog with long ears. And yeah. No, not Shih Tzu. No. So anyway, we had Tess for 12 years, and I did a couple of painting of her. I have it back in my studios, and we become friends. And so one day Henry Henshey came to our house. We were renting this time. And he says, "I have a right house for you for sale." Yeah. And he says, "Maybe you can buy it." I say, "Okay, we'll go and see it." We went down and turned to be the same house that Janie wanted. And then we met the woman. The woman, she is from Illinois, and she is the niece of the famous artist Pauline Palmer. You heard of Pauline Palmer? She's an American painter, and she does portrait, and she was really a great portrait painter. Yeah. She left in her will $6 million in 1930 to Chicago Art Institute for art students, and still her name very big. I own one of her painting, Pauline Palmer, and I have it in my house. And so we bought the house, and I met the woman. She talked like the black and white movies. And she said, "What's your name?" "Sam Barber." You know, the black and white, they're talking those days with English accent, the black and white movies. And she said, "My great aunt would love your painting, your character, So we bought her house. She said, "Don't tell anybody." We bought the house for $16,000, the Pauline Palmer's studio. And she came the following summer, and she took everything, and she left that one painting of Pauline Palmer that I own. And so the studio has a skylight, and you can see the monument, Provincetown Monument, through the skylight. And the studio is about that big, maybe a little smaller, but the whole thing with the high ceiling, with the skylight and loft, and has furniture. She has exquisite antique furniture and wicker chairs. So after we bought the house and everything, my wife, she was working that time in Malchman clothing store in Provincetown, across from the town hall. So I packed the car with all that furniture, took it to the dump, because I want to have a flat studio. I have dreamed to see a flat studio with easel and chairs, and I kept 2 chairs. She came back and she said, "Oh my God, where's the furniture?" I said, "I took it to the dump." She said, "You're crazy, this is antique, all the chairs and the wicker chairs." And I ran to the dump. The dump closed. I stepped, they're gone. Somebody got them in Provincetown. But before that story finished, I was working in the yard. I found gravestone. I was digging, fixing the walkway with the bricks, and I put tap sands, and I worked in, and I dig it up, and I found gravestone is 1 inch by 24 by 24 by 24, and read on it, "Mary Jane died October 24, 1870. So that area was part of the cemetery, old cemetery. It was a child, a year old, buried in there. Her name, Mary Jane, died October 24, 1870, on that plot in there. And this is my wife's birthday. This is Janie's birthday in 1970. I found her on that same day, 1970, 100 years later. So all these stories going to be in my book. So it'd be 1-page story, then in turn it'd be painting, 1-page story, 1 painting, 1-page story. So it's going to be art painting. It's going to be people I met. It's going to be places I've been. It's going to be movie stars I've been in contact with. This is an amazing time. So I'm going to continue a little bit. I don't know what time it is. We have time?
4:10. 4:10, yeah.
Oh, we have plenty of time.
4:10. Sam has to wait for some of this to dry in order to.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to make room for the daisies. Daisy.
The daisies, yes.
good name for the dog, Daisy. Daisy gonna come. You know, I have an option to put the sign, or maybe I don't know, I don't need to put the sign in, that sign in there, to take away from the painting. So I'm not gonna put it in. We invite the potter to come and his wife. But then, I guess it's too hot, or maybe they have different, maybe they have companies. Summertime. Okay, I tell you the way I paint and I do my things. I go to sleep at 8:30 at night. Then I wake up at 12:30. You know, this is routine for me. So I sleep 8:30, 9:30, yeah, till 12 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, I get up, I go downstairs, make coffee. Then I come upstairs, I read the Bible for an hour and a half. And I have some other books, religious book I'm reading about the Blessed Mother. Yeah. And I answer the Instagram. Take you at least 45 minutes to answer everybody, because you have to thank them, everything, you know, to come on your website. Yeah. Then I go downstairs then I sleep at 3:30, I sleep again. This is where I see all my dream. You know, I dream all kind of things, you know, around 3:30 till 5 o'clock. Then I have to get up 5 o'clock when the light comes to my eyes, and I'm a very light sleeper. Then I have a beautiful garden. I have vegetable garden. I have to water the garden. Yeah. And so I have 18 tomatoes and basils and cucumbers, and we eat half of the year from this. Yeah. So this is what I do all daily. Then I go to church, you know, 4 times I read the rosary to the Blessed Mother. You know, I'm really blessed by her. I saw so many dreams on the Blessed Mother. One of my dream is one day I woke up, you know, I slept and I woke up in the hilly sides, in the way Jesus preaches and tell the stories of the apostles and everything. So rocks and grass and everything. Then I saw a very beautiful woman walking by me with 2 men, and she was holding a lot of rosary with her, and her face, she is very small. She's maybe shorter than I am. So, you know, I used to be 5'7". I'm less now. I'm not 5'7". I'm 5'6", maybe less. So anyway, so this woman, she's so beautiful, bright in the face, and I say, "Oh my God, this is beautiful. Rosaries, can I have one?" She said, "No, they have them down the street. It's going out of business. You can buy them down the street." It's very odd to say this. And I woke up and I told Janie, I said, what does mean? It's number 67 down the street. Well, then she figured it out. This is 6 and 7 is number 13 in the alphabet. So that mean M in A, B, C, D. So this is isomary. Yeah, this is really true. And also, I'm always blessed. My family used to tell me, she said, we belong to the prophet. We wouldn't get into it, but she said, from my mother's side and my father's side, we belong to the great prophet, one of the prophets, because I have a birthmark here, see, birthmark. And this birthmark will tell a story that I'm blessed. And if you read the Bible, if you have a Bible and you read the Bible in chapter 61, that famous one, where Jesus spoke in 61, read chapter 9. Somebody trying to wake me up in my dream, and it sounded really just like the way they spoke to Joseph. He said, take Mary to Egypt. Yeah, this is that sound. It sounds like people like us. So either an angel or somebody talking to me. So I got up and I looked for the chapter 9, 61, Isaiah. You have to read Isaiah. Remember this. It was, we are blessed by the Lord. The way we look, the way we dress. Yeah. God, we give us his blessing. And with God blessing, I got everything I wanted. I went to the best school. I married the best wife. I have the best house in Hyannisport. I have the best children. I have the best color. I have the best teacher, the best 2 teacher in my life. Yeah. And I have the best place to exhibit here with Cindy, Cindy Cotton, with amazing job she's doing. And Lisa, her assistant, is also amazing. You can see they love people here. They love activities, always something going on. Yeah. And so I'm really blessed. Yeah. And I'll tell you another story in a minute or two. Yeah. But continue.
Sam, tell us what you're going to do down here in this, down in the very bottom there.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it more umbery brown in there. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Now I'm using ochre and sienna, French sienna. With no likeness, as it is, it really looks like just from little hint. So this is why you don't do any outline. Now mix amber with sienna and with alizarin crimson. Yeah. Here. Fiber here. Slowly. I'm gonna tell you a story of Arles. We were driving with my brother-in-law, and my sister-in-law. She's with us always. She lives in Hyannisport, and she sees us at least 3-4 days every week because she lives on a cape in the summertime. Yeah, we were driving in France through the coast, the west coast of France, and we went down and we started driving by Riviera and everything. Then we went on one evening, we stopped in Arles, Arles, famous Arles. I was tired, we were tired of driving on the highways, French highway with the small cars, French cars, rented car. And we stop on the highways, all the time, take a break and stuff. And I slept so many times. They would never allow me to drive because, they don't trust my driving. It's a very windy road all the time. You just keep going down the hilly side and stuff. So we arrived to Arles. It was so magnificent evening. And we went to square. We want to find out the square where Vincent van Gogh painted, that famous painting, with the light coming down from the second floors, have a veranda, and we looked that square, and this is where the veranda is. It's a restaurant right now in Arles. Oh my God, we're so excited. We read the menu, we went upstairs and we sat on the balcony, the one Van Gogh painted, and we had supper. I remember, I'll never forget, the square is a huge square, like from here to the post office. You see the distance, outside the post office, the big squares with a lot of building, and especially nighttime, with all the light coming down from the light. So it's a restaurant. And so we sat on the veranda and we ordered lamb chop, little lamb chop with a bone and asparagus. They gave us so much asparagus. That was the best meal I ever had. When I see lamb with a little bone, I have to chew everything like a dog. I love it. Yeah, it was delicious. The following day, we stayed in bed breakfast place. It looked just like a Van Gogh bedroom. A little bed, narrow bed, a little dresser, a little window looking at the courtyard. It's everything memorizing. And then we went to the Roman place where they have a bullfight, those days in the Roman time. And we sat in there and I was looking, and it's magnificent. And then I recognized a lot of painting by Vincent van Gogh. He did the post office down the street, the railroad station. Everything is the same, hasn't changed. So it was rememberable. This is really great visit.
Sam, I'm curious, how are you going to make those white daisies?
Well, I'm gonna work around them and then I'm gonna block everything. They're gonna be showing, I mean, there's so many ways to do it. I can take maybe, I never use these brushes, but maybe you have to sketch them in, maybe. Oh, some of them. Yeah. Maybe I have to do. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll sketch them in, bunch of them. Yeah, we'll work around it. I never did any painting, from start to finish. I always do bunch of painting at the same time. So I work on at least on 6 pieces. I have at home maybe 4 pieces I'm working on, and then I start a lot of small ones. I have them at the beach club. Now, I'm gonna bring them back to the studios. And so I have a lot of small painting. So what I'm trying to say is, even I wanna confess in the library here, I never finish any book. I have so many art books. I never finish one from the beginning to the end. This is awful. Yeah. So, but I finished the Bible, because there's so many interesting stories. So you can relate. It's amazing the way it was and the now is so close. What's happening to the world it's revelation. It's happening right now. This is weird things. Yeah. So you're gonna see even more revelations because there's a one man mad is destroying the world, but then that part of the world is belong to Abraham. That Abraham, it's a very holy place. The whole area destroyed. So a lot of bad things going to happen because this is what the man did anyway. But we are aware of everything. I feel things happening in there, but thank God my painting will calm me down. This is what I do. I paint, and I dream with good things. I love good things to do. And just like the Bible says, I just read it the other day, give with joy. This is what Jesus says, give with joy more than when you take. If somebody want to give me a present, I'm going to give them double of it. If Julie, she want to do something, I say, I'm going to give you a painting. I did. I gave her my self-portrait, my best self-portrait. But guess what? She got my self-portrait, 9 by 12, and I was standing like this. A brush. There's so much like me. She loved it. I make a choice. But then I went home and I opened one of my sketchbooks. At the same portrait, I gave her an oil. I did it in watercolor.
Oh, yeah.
I have it in the studio.
Right.
Yeah, I
I
have
love
to
that
show
one
it to you. This is
Sam,
amazing.
Lisa just said we only have 20 more minutes because the library closes at 5.
Okay, what time is it?
So we
now?
have, it's about 4:35,
Okay,
so you
so-
have about 20
Okay, let
minutes.
me see what I can sing that painting.
Yeah.
You know, you can come close if you want to come close and see it. I can show you the photo. You can come, I mean.
It might be easier for you to see what he's doing,
Yeah.
especially with the daisies
You can
and
come
everything.
close. All of you, if you want it, yeah?
Scratch down.
No, that's not.
See their face, how much it looks like it, the way I did. So, you know, at home, you know, it's amazing what I'm gonna do to it. And, also, I'm looking for my rulers. Rulers here somewhere. Oh, yeah, it's right here. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is something easy. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I'm doing this.
It's very different. It just helps. Because he'll take that back to the studio. And all the stuff. It's a whole different. I'll go with all that. One needs to, no one has. I know, I'm on Facebook. I use it, but I do, I'm on it because of Instagram. You can see a lot of his paintings there on Instagram. But come to the studio. So I'm like, do you know where it is? Did you get it tomorrow? Yeah. I mean, Sue knows. I mean, it's just incredible. This twig figures that he brought in, it's not the best figures, but he has excellent. Yeah, I really love it. His twig dancers are, because he's really into ballet and he's into opera. He really likes.
This is deep color.
Yeah.
See the contrast.
Make that pop. It's really big, is to get into his head. Stuff about it. He sees the world.
This is I did at the museum, you know, Cape Cod Museum of Art. I did it for 2 hours, just like this. And then I finished it at home. This is Catherine, one of my models. I have with the dress and everything. And this is supposed to be East Bay. This is Osterville, that view in there.
Yeah.
I'll bring something in mind that is, I'm excited about it because I can't bring anything else that I can bring it. And he will immediately see what needs to be enhanced immediately. It's a tremendous eye.
One stroke.
This painting here, he just did from a photo, and he calls it The Boys of Summer. And you can look at every one of those boys, it's a different face, it's a different, I mean, he's got one painting that I just love, the ballet dancers.
You have to, in
Ballet
the
dancers,
skirt,
all different
you
versions.
have to really,
Yeah, you really should.
you have to capture the color. The color is that cadmium
It's
color,
on Main
the
Street.
cadmium yellows, the cadmium yellows.
Sam Barber.
See, like the scrambled eggs, right there, okay? You have to get that color before you put the flowers on.
He's a writer.
Very well. Very well. Good to see you.
So wonderful to bring that in. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. He actually just did that in Dennis. Yeah. Yeah, it was a demonstration.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Are these paintings on the wall watercolor?
On the side.
They are oil. Okay, these are all oils though.
The oil painting.
Right, those
This
are
is,
all oils.
this is a province town.
Right, right. I
Yeah.
recognized it.
I love it. Yeah. This is Franklin Street, Provincetown. Franklin Street, there are a lot of artist studios back in the 20s, in the 30s, and the 50s. George Elmer Brown used to be the studio right on the top. That house, that brown house.
The other night, we had a sunset.
I have a question about how you paint vertical and it's watercolor, or is it for the demo that you have it vertical today?
I like to have a vertical because, oh, you mean the composition?
No, I'm talking about
Or
how you
the
have it
standing, some
standing.
people, they do watercolor on the table.
Yeah,
I really
Right.
like it standing because I like to see it from far. I'm gonna walk away from it. Yeah, because this is, yeah.
You did it with mistakes, but I mean, he does it as art.
I know, that's what I
Because
guess.
That's gonna be the most difficult part, right?
Because it's true.
White, exactly.
It's interesting.
Okay, I will, yeah, that's a great idea. I was just saying that it's a demonstration at Dennis Museum, and when he finished, it was pretty much that way, but you're right. Get those piece it there, dry. But I will, I'll make sure that they. Yeah. You won't believe how this ends. It's not why I see him in his studio. Yeah, oh, good. It's so special.
Well, you know, we have to quit soon because they're gonna close shop here. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. I was gonna tell you another story. I know a lot of people from Boston area, and I have a man who used to come to Cape Cod to buy antiques. He is amazing. He is a big man. He passed on now. And his name, Richard Fallon. Richard Fallon, he owned the whole building behind the Copley Plaza Hotel in Boston. Yeah. So he used to come to my studio. Every time he comes antiquing, buying art on the Cape, he come to my studio on Stevens Street and buy painting from me. So one day he said, I want to invite you to Boston to come and see my painting. So I did. I took the bus. I always take the bus, and I walked to his office. He has that building behind the Copley Plaza.
Okay.
Yeah, and I went to his office. He has a lot of American Impressionists, you know, it's something you've seen in the Boston Museum. And then he said, would you like to have a studio upstairs in that building? I can give you a studio. I said, no, it won't be necessary. I'm so involved with so many things. And already I have a big house in Hyannisport and I have studios and they're successful. And then he said, I say, I'm hungry. I say, I'm gonna take you to the best place. So he took me to Jacob Worth. Jacob Worth,
Yeah.
you know, in Boston. This is my favorite. I want corned beef sandwich on rye bread with the pickle like New York.
Yeah.
I have the best sandwich. And guess what? He owned the place that time. Yeah, Richard Fallon, he owned that place. So, and then there's a little cottage right behind the restaurant, way far. He said, would you like to have this? Yeah, I'll give it to you as studio. I said, no, I don't need it. I have so many stuff out in the Cape. Yeah. So a couple of years later back, you know, this is talking about maybe 10 years later, his wife, she came with fur coat. I told her, oh, it's awful. Why are you wearing it? This is, you have to kill animal for this. Yeah, she hated me to say this. And then I asked her, how was Richard? She said he passed on. He had a heart attack. He was 42 years old. His family owned the ambulance business, you know, after his name, the Fallon. You can see it.
Oh, yeah.
But then he has two young daughters, so his daughter will be in their 40s now, probably early 40s. Yeah. So this is one of the people. Then I know Morris Rand, the Rand industry by the airport. They have all these brick buildings. He said, I can give you a studio in there. He owned in Brookline, that corner, the whole building is about Coolidge Corner, yeah. He owned the whole place. I did the mural for him. We become friends. So this some David Mugar, he passed on a couple of years ago. He was one of my fans. He owned my painting. God bless. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh,